Howdy, y'all. Welcome on this scorching summer day. I'm Paul Thompson, and this is appropriately My Project Hell, where for the next 20 minutes or so, Kelly and I are going to throw away the corporate jargon and lingo and just talk no nonsense project management. Hopefully, giving you guys some plain solutions to real problems you're having.
And I'm Kelly Schockler, and today we're continuing our summer 2022 hot topic deep dive streak. On this episode, we're going to be focused on a current popular project management topic that others, listeners like you who are listening today, have told us they want to hear more about. And then Paul and I will explore a few different ways to navigate through and offer up some possibilities for your consideration. So Paul, what have we got today?
Well, today's deep dive is project management right for me, and what the hell have I gotten myself into this time? So let's start out with a definition of project manager, at least just kind of ground us all. And so for everyone out there, I am blatantly stealing what Kelly puts out there, and she has a great way of talking about it, right? It is, what do you know? And what do you do? So as a project manager, what do you know? You have to have a deep understanding of how to initiate, plan, design, execute, and monitor the project, right? And you have to be able to know how to build a cohesive team. All of that is part of being a project manager and knowing how to work with individual styles, negotiate, and solve problems. That's the what do you know side. Now, what do? Provide leadership, right? And it's for the life of the project. Start to end, you are the leader. And you're managing the scope, the time, of course, the cost, quality, all of those good things. But you're also managing and delegating tasks out to your project staff, the resources, and promoting that team involvement and getting everybody on the same page and building good working relationships. So that's how we kind of see what project management is these days in a modern sense.
So, Paul, we've got listeners, on the spectrum of full-on PM's been at it for a while, and then this is definitely geared more toward people who are evaluating, is it for me? And so I want to just encourage those of you who've been at it for a while and you've got all the experience. I know you've been asked many times by people who are aspiring PMs or think that it's for them. You've been asked, well, what do you do? And would I like it? And so just stick with us on this episode, because I think you'll pick up a few things that you can in turn share when you get asked that by other people. So when I think about the history of project management, going back to 60s, 70s, 80s, which is a while ago, the project management roles were pretty much confined to aerospace and construction, right, Paul? That government-based contracting.
Big government contracts.
Well, we could even go back to pyramid building and henge building. I'm pretty sure there's project management that was happening there. But anyway, we've all seen project management as a profession mature and being recognized by all industries. And so now we've got this huge demand, a huge global demand for project managers, and it's exceeding the supply of skilled PMs, right? So what we've got are people who are seeing this great opportunity and want to jump into being project manager without understanding what it takes to do the job. And so then we've got misaligned skill sets, right? Now, to be clear, a lot of professional roles require similar skills, being able to plan, execute on strategy, have goals, right? That pretty much applies across the board to all roles and careers. But just because I'm good at paying attention to detail and planning as a marketing manager doesn't make me an instant PM. There's other hard and soft skills that have to be developed in order to be good at it, right?
That is true.
That's my thought.
So how did you get here, right? I mean, because...
Well, I think so. In my humble opinion, there's aspiring project managers, people who see it as a career field, it's something they feel really gels with how they're wired, or there's accidental, you fall into it, right? Or then there's aspiring, where you're planning it. Like, I know this is where I want to go. And so the funny thing is, before I go into my story, is I was just thinking, oh, I went to college to study and become a marketing manager, actually. And I didn't even do that, right? My trajectory was, I started out as an accidental PM, and then it turned into an aspiring PM along the way. I started out managing this oil spill response program in Kodiak, Alaska, and I was working on special projects for a company, not knowing a thing about project management, that it was a thing. And then I was assigned as a subject matter expert on a database replacement project that I worked on. And I was working with a real live project manager and watching what they were doing. And it was like the clouds parted, and there was no doubt, this is what I want to pursue. I felt like I was made for and wired to manage projects. And so that's when I started kind of transitioning from accidental to aspiring, and cultivating a true project management career pathway, which is not a straight line or a ladder, right? It's roller coaster. But learning in each role I was in each company I worked in, and continuing to learn, So, what about you, Paul? I don't know if I've ever really heard your
how
project
I got
management.
into
Yeah,
this.
how'd you get there?
Well, it was definitely a very direct step on my part. I happened to be a software development engineer back in the 90s, and the large consulting firm I was working for started exploring project management, and they went through the ranks, recruited some of us, built training. And so we were kind of the guinea pigs going through and learning this. But it was great because it was when PMI was really maturing and starting to come to the forefront. My company was building off of that, and it felt very natural for me. And they had really put together some thoughtful training that we were then helping to craft for the next generation of project managers in that company. So that was my path onto the project management. But what I find really interesting, right, is both you and I do a lot of the same things, even though we got here from 100% different sides, right? My degree was information management, technology, very IT focused from the beginning. Yours was very marketing. We both became project managers, different approaches to everything. But at the end of the day, I think we really have some very key things that we both agree are important.
Yeah, we do have things we agree on. There are some.
Occasionally.
Yeah, I see like how different we are, and yet we're still able to be effectual and efficient PMs, because I think there's those core things that you and I have talked about that you absolutely have to be good. And, transparency and communication, for instance.
Right.
You cannot be successful if you're operating in a silo, you're keeping everything to yourself. Transparency is about what's happening in real time and communicating that out. You're escalating issues in a timely and professional manner. You're letting people know about those things, right? I think it's crucial to be an effective PM. Another thing I know we agree on as far as being a good PM and what it takes is hands-on stakeholder management. Now, what does that mean? You're actively in there, you're building relationships, which can be sometimes difficult for folks who are more introverted. It takes a little more, I think. You're able to build relationships with your project team, your sponsor, your customer stakeholders. You can empathize with them. You can identify and manage their expectations, and then maintain those relationships, right? It takes this ongoing effort that's got an energy expenditure behind it, and that sometimes can take a lot out of a person, a PM.
Mm-hmm. I completely agree. And it's kind of that I don't even know how to put it. I don't even know how to put it into words, right? But so let me step back and ask you, and I'm going to flip some of our kind of outline that we've talked through. But when when we started in our career, right, it was, at least for me, it was very administrative. It was very hard skill oriented, right? Being able to put together a budget, being able to put together a schedule. And it evolved into more of the things you described, right? That really are sometimes described as soft skills, right? That stakeholder management, those kinds of things. So how did you get that skill set? How did you develop that? How did you get there from, accidental project manager and all the way up to now an individual who's kind of seen out in the area, in the marketplace, as an expert in your field?
Project hell.
Okay, right.
These skills. Well, there's one that we also didn't talk about: hard conversations and having those, right? There's a learning curve and you have to go through those hard experiences that you can't get from reading books and watching YouTube videos on project management shows. Although those things can help.
They will help.
Don't want to dissuade our viewers from watching us, but these are things that you get through experience, through talking to others who've gone before you. They're veterans. They've got some things that can help you be proactive in the way that you are learning and managing your projects. And then you've got to practice on a daily basis. Experiment. What works, what doesn't. Don't be afraid to fail, right? Those are, so we're talking about kind of character strengths that help one be a really excellent PM. Everyone wants that fast and easy, done for you. I see that a lot. It's done for you this, done for you that. And to become a great PM, I think you could the bulk of your learning comes through the tough situations in the project hellfires. I mean, do you agree, or do you have a different perspective?
No,
there?
I think that's true. And I like the way you did touch on tough conversations, because for me, that's kind of one of those pinnacle things everybody needs to be working towards. And in order to learn how to have some of those tough conversations, like you said, I think you're just going to have to take your welts and your project hell, right? You're going to get burned a bit, but there's an opportunity that I often see that comes up that many people overlook. So a lot of times, especially early on your career, right? You're a coordinator working with a seasoned project manager on large projects, and you're probably getting assigned more administrative duties, note taking, things like that. But when you get invited into the room where the senior leadership is having those tough conversations about, the scope is, priorities, we're going to be letting go staff, how are we going to manage, right? When you're in those conversations and you're in the room, observe, listen, and learn. That is probably the best opportunity folks have early on their career to just jettison forward immensely, right?
Fly on the wall.
Taking the beating, right?
Right, fly on the wall observation.
Exactly.
Beat it.
Exactly. And so I would encourage everybody, right? The more opportunities you have to get yourself into the room when those conversations are happening, the better off you'll be down the road. And there are a lot of skills, right? We talked about a few. Let's toot our own horn a little bit here. We have put together an assessment tool that talks about 30 some, 20 some skill
competencies,
right?
Yeah.
That not just you and I felt were important, but the marketplace and other experts that we went to and talked with, felt were important. But it also shows how it shifts, right? It shifts over time. From when you're starting out as a coordinator, these skills might be more important than some of these others. But as you progress and mature through your career, that too sort of changes, right? I mean, you and I can still go back and probably, take notes and do things that are very administrative.
Oh, yeah.
It's not the highest
value. I still have to
value.
take notes and send status reports, Paul.
It's not the highest value, right?
Yeah. Yeah, but so I'm glad you brought up the assessment, because I feel like this competency assessment, which is a tool that Paul and I created together, is really beneficial to all levels of PMs, wherever you're at. And especially if you are trying to identify, is project management for me? Take this assessment, open it up, because it's going to help you identify those areas that maybe you're really not keen on. Maybe planning and organizing are not your forte. Perhaps communicating with people often feels like eating overboiled Brussels sprouts. I don't know. Maybe dealing with ambiguity makes your head explode. It does often for me. But it's okay, because there's plenty of things in the project management skill set that are not my favorite aspects of project management, but I'm competent at doing them. And I know I need to do them as part of my project management, but it doesn't crush my soul, right? It's just part of being a good PM. So the point here is, how many of the project management competencies are not in alignment with how you're wired? So it's not about whether you've mastered some or all of these yet, because all these things can be learned. It's more about, when you look at these competencies, how many of them make you want to run the other way? Be honest with yourself. Is this for you? And more importantly, can you imagine yourself learning and getting good at the competencies and putting in the time, and like you said, Paul, the welts, to be good at it? Those are the questions to ask yourself. So take a look at that, that competency tool. It's on myprojecthell.com. You can download it for free.
And that's a hard, kind of a hard truth to come to, right?
It is.
You have to know yourself. You have to be comfortable in your skin. For my story, so I own MetaGuire. That means that I'm managing some projects, and we've got a lot of other senior project managers now that do most of the bulk of that. But I have to do the sales and other things, and I hate sales. So sales is not in my DNA. It's just hard, and I know that is a role that I'm just never going to be the sales guy that's great. So we hired to it, right? But you've got to know that is project management. You might not like taking notes. You might not be good at it initially, but there are ways to get better. There's tricks to it. You can learn lots of ways to pick up and use OneNote tied into Exchange, and now all of a sudden all the templates are put together for you, and you can get ahead that way. But if you just can't do something because it just makes your skin crawl, you got to understand that. And like we discussed earlier, right, Kelly? In the beginning, I was focused very administrative, and then it went to interpersonal skills. That's the stuff I love, but you can't really get there without going through the progression, right? You're
Right.
not going to jump from very inexperienced to, well, now I can manage stakeholder, conversations, so I should be, in charge. You still have to have built enough budgets and developed enough estimates and understand, the ins and outs, and start to be able to look around the corners of buildings to see what's coming, right? And your risks and things like that. So you just have to spend time. But you will get to the point at which you absolutely, can do the things you love and tolerate the things that, might not be great, as long as they're still part of your makeup, part of the things that you, like you said, doesn't make your skin crawl, doesn't make you run the other way.
Yeah, we just encourage you, if you've been thinking about getting into project management, really dig deep there. A lot of folks are realizing that there's a ton of opportunity in this field, and it's exciting. It definitely is. But then they say, sign me up, without giving serious thought as to whether or not it's a fit. And so it's not for everyone. There's a definite skill set and character traits that are needed to be successful. And the last thing you want to do, right, is to find yourself in a job where you're unhappy with what's being required of you, right? So the message that Paul and I want to leave with you today is, take the time to thoughtfully explore the way you're wired, what you like to do, what you don't like doing, and then talk to other project managers who've been at it for a while, and get a feel for what it might be like in real life. And then find a role that fits your interest and allows you to thrive according to the way you're wired. And go download that competency
Yes,
assessment from myprojecthell.com. That's going to help you in your journey, no matter where you're at. And with that, Paul,
looks
20
like
minutes.
looks
20
like
minutes flew
Katie's
by.
telling us we're out of time.
Yeah, time to let our listeners get back to their projects or their naps. Okay, so part of this process, we have a couple asks. Check out our My Project Hell YouTube channel. You can click the follow button there, which really makes us happy. And while you're there, feel free to catch up on any episode replays that you may have missed, or share episodes out on social. We like that too. And as always, Paul and I love to give our listeners the opportunity to book a free 30-minute coaching session with us, problem solving session, either one of us. Those links are in the post show email if you registered. And if you didn't, that's okay. Go to myprojecthell.com and you can register and tune in next time and you will get that email.
That's right. And I hope you enjoyed it. I know Kelly and I do have a lot of fun and we enjoy producing this show. Sometimes it doesn't go off as smoothly as we would like, but join us next time when we'll hit another hot topic. And if you would like to participate in Coach's Corner, drop us an email at myprojecthell@gmail.com. We're always on the lookout for project managers wanting to, climb out of their own project hell.
And hot topic ideas.
That's right. We always enjoy those as well. So in the post-show email, fill out the survey. We appreciate the lessons learned. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks for being here. We'll see you next time.